I think what you're getting at is an argument that is that can be given a label. It's called the argument of the big switch. So this is part of what I mean when I say you're up against clever opponents. And by clever opponents, think of like a lawyer, right? Lawyer goes, my client didn't do it. He was nowhere at the scene at the time. You go, oh, really? Well, here's his bloody knife, and we found it at the scene, and his fingerprints are on it, and his fingerprints are all over the victim. And then the lawyer goes, shoot. So then the lawyer goes, he actually was at the scene at the time, but he was forced to do it. He did it in self-defense. So what I'm getting at is this. The Democrats, you say, you were the defenders of slavery. And usually what they do is they say, well, yeah, but that ended in 1865. That was really a long time ago, Dinesh. Why are we bringing that stuff up now? By the way, the Democrats are the ones who always bring this stuff up. This is their thing, right? History for profit. This is what they do. So suddenly when we bring it up, can't bring it up. It's really old. Then they go, why are we talking about these antebellum things before the war? And we say, well, we're not really just talking about the antebellum crimes of the Democrats. We're talking about segregation, Jim Crow, the Klan, lynching, forced sterilization, blah, 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 going all the way to the 1960s. Then they go, oh, yeah, well, we did the civil rights movement. And then you go, no, you didn't. There was a Civil Rights Act of 1964, a Voting Rights Act of 1965, a Fair Housing Bill of 1968. More Republicans voted for all three of those things than Democrats. If the Democrats were the only party in both houses of Congress, none of those things would have passed. All the opposition to those things came from the Democratic Party. True or false? They go, true. This is all important stuff because they have totally claimed the mantle of the civil rights movement, right? And the other thing was, the racist Dixiecrats in the South all became Republicans. And so we Democrats, we may have done all this bad stuff all the way to the 60s, but then we became racially enlightened, and all the racists joined your team. So this is the argument of the big switch. I'm not going to discuss it in detail here. I will just say that this argument is, I have a book, Hillary's America, that goes with the movie. Both in the film and in the book, we take on this idea of the big switch, totally decimated. The truth of it is, there was basically one guy, Strom Thurmond, who was a racist Dixiecrat who became a Republican. By the way, when he became a Republican, he didn't defend those Dixiecrat policies. One guy. The whole Democratic argument hangs on one guy. But there were literally thousands of racist Democrats, and all of them died Democrats. So Bull Connor, the Southern sheriff who put hoses on the civil rights protest, Democrat. Orville Faubus, the governor who blocked the doors of the school and wouldn't let, I forget the name of the student, black student, get into the school, Democrat. Eisenhower was the guy who sent federal troops. So this whole history is all there. But we don't know it that well. And that's why we allow the other side and the professors to spin it their way. Nixon had a Southern strategy. Oh, really? Well, how come he didn't win the Deep South? The Deep South was won by Wallace. Wallace was running as a Democrat. So this is a history that my point is, these days, to be an effective conservative, particularly in a college environment, you need to be equipped. You need to have these arguments razor sharp, and you need to read and learn, and then you need to articulate. If you do those things, you will become a political Dennis the Menace on the campus. And you'll be actually feared because their job has been to cover it up, and your job is simply to show things into the disinfected light of truth, which is a very joyous thing indeed to do. Okay.